Today, the federal government announced some military officers will be stripped of their medals over allegations of war crimes. But the move has made many people furious.
What were they thinking? What are they thinking?
A furious Jackie Lambie lambasting the government over its decision to strip medals from Afghanistan vets.
How many of those officers are actually getting charged? Not bloody one. Not one. You're throwing your diggers under the bus and not one of those officers will end up with a charge.
The Defence Minister today following the recommendations from the Brereton inquiry into war crimes by Aussie troops.
The last step in closing out these two recommendations was me writing to relevant commanders about my decision in relation to medals awarded to them. I have now written these letters.
Current or former Defence officers informed they will be stripped of Distinguished Service medals over actions that took place under their command. We don't know their names, only that there are fewer than 10.
When you command a unit, you will receive often the benefits and the accolades of what that unit does, irrespective of whether you've personally been right there at the front line, and commensurately you accept the responsibility of that unit in terms of what failings occur.
Those failings, detailed by the Brereton inquiry, involve credible evidence of unlawful conduct, including the alleged killing of 39 civilians. Many suggesting today's move doesn't go far enough, that more responsibility should be placed on those at the top.
I believe that our troops were let down by a lack of moral courage that went up the chain of command all the way to Canberra, including in this House.
We have a problem with leadership in our military, and until they start to do something about that, this will continue to stay dysfunctional.
But veterans groups are outraged that Anzacs are being hung out to dry over what they say are unproven allegations.
This is spitting at the feet of the 26,000 Afghanistan veterans, these young men and women who served us so bravely in Afghanistan.
So, who should be held accountable over this dark chapter in our history?
Don't enlist until it's fixed. Do not let your children enlist in the military until it's fixed.
We caught up with lawyer and former soldier Glenn Kolomeitz a little earlier. Glenn, a huge range of responses. Some seem outraged that these medals have been stripped, that this is an unfair thing to do to soldiers. Others say it doesn't go far enough or especially high enough. Where do you sit?
Look, I agree it doesn't go high enough. It doesn't go to the generals, and at the end of the day, that command responsibility piece is really important. So, look, it doesn't go high enough. It doesn't go to the generals. And in terms of the overall action, I think we should be letting justice run its course, to be brutally frank.
What does that mean?
Look, I think we have the generals they're giving they've been given another blanket exemption from any sort of accountability or even being investigated. So quite frankly, I think the generals need to be investigated as to their command responsibility in all of this before they start stripping medals from anybody, really.
Why is it that the top brass have been spared at this stage?
Yeah, I think I know Richard Marles is just following the lead of another general, Major General Brereton, in his inquiry report, where he gave this blanket exemption to the generals based on an incorrect application of the law and a lack of understanding of command arrangements in the Middle East. But my point is, if they were given medals for their distinguished command and leadership on one hand, and then they're given an exemption from responsibility because they didn't have adequate command and control, the two don't sit together at all. They're diametrically opposed. That's how we avoid impunity for war crimes, by making sure that commanders are held responsible for the actions of their subordinates. But we're yet to have any of those actions tested, let alone proven.
It isn't over, we should point that out. The Office of Special Prosecutor is looking at this for potential prosecutions. Now, that could take years. But are you saying we should wait those years to see what comes of that before any action is taken?
No, I think, the medals is a bit of a token effort, but taking administrative action, which is potentially quite severe, I think it's putting the cart before the horse. Now, the special investigator will say one soldier has been charged, one quite low level, a patrol commander, yet to go to trial. So I just think if we're starting to look at the chain of command, we need to just see if there actually is a case to be made and whether they have breached their duty as commanders. But again, I keep harping on this. We can't ignore the people most responsible, and that is the higher commanders in the Middle East, and that was the generals.
Glenn, it's been a huge week for the veteran community. First, there was the report into veteran suicide, and now this. How are they holding up?
it's been pretty stressful. That has. I spoke to Julianne Finney and I spoke to a few other, a couple of my clients who were witnesses at the Royal Commission, and look, it's pretty exhausting. It's very exhausting, certainly for them, and indeed for some of us who are involved in pushing for this. But look, it's a good outcome. The Royal Commission itself was a fantastic effort by the Royal Commissioners, Nick Kellis and his team. It's a thorough. I haven't read the whole report yet, but it's a thorough investigation. And look, I think it's sending a pretty powerful message to Defence and indeed to government. So an emotional week, but a positive week, I would say.
All right, Glenn, thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thanks, guys.
Veterans and families who are seeking support can find it 24/7 through Open Arms. So the number there is 1800 011 046.